Good day and thank you for joining us on Beetv News Update at 3. I am Liberateman Johanna. Now the news in details. Governors elected on the platform of All Progressive Congress (APC) have held a closed-door meetings with members of the party's National Working Committee at the Imo State Governor's Lodge. The meeting brought together APC governors and top party officials to review party affairs at both state and national levels. The discussion focused on strengthening internal party processes and aligning strategies ahead of upcoming political activities. Key issues reviewed included preparations for ward and local government congresses, as well as plans for the party's national convention. Speaking to journalists after the meeting, the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum said the governors received updates on the party's ongoing e-registration exercise and other organization activities aimed at improving coordination within the APC. Lawmakers in the Senate have deferred consideration of the report on the Electoral Act 2022 Repeal and Enactment Bill 2026. The decision was taken during plenary following deliberations on the report of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters. The debate on the report was stepped down to allow senators time to study the proposed legislation in detail. Consideration of the bill is now expected to resume on Thursday. The Senate also resolved to reconvene in an executive session to scrutinize sensitive aspects of the proposed electoral reforms before taking a final decision.
With this bill, and when we come tomorrow, which is the next legislative day, but it's important that distinguished colleagues are allowed to go home with copies, and that we also have a brief closed-door session before we resume plenary to consider this.
I rise to second this very important motion moved by the Senate leader, considering the nature of the matter in question and the volume of the material to be discussed. I second the motion as simply moved by Senate leader. I so second.
If we get it right, then all Nigerians will smile. We have free and fair elections. We take our time and then we make sure we do the needful, and we ensure that justice is done to all and sundry, and the bill will save the interests of Nigeria.
The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has projected a 7% growth in Nigeria's economy in 2026, driven by macroeconomic stabilization and ongoing government reforms. The projection was announced at the Chamber Annual Economic Outlook Forum held in Lagos. Speaking at the event, the president of the LCCI described the 2026 outlook as optimistic, citing improvements in key economic indicators. This includes greater foreign exchange stability and rising external reserves, which he said have provided a stronger foundation for economic growth. The Chamber identified stabilizing Naira and a foreign reserves target of $51 billion as positive signals for investor confidence. However, it stressed that the economic performance should not be measured by reserve levels alone, but also by improvements in income levels, equitable distribution of wealth, and poverty reduction.
Marginally below the estimated 2025 output. Growth in developing economy is expected to moderate approximately 4%, as trade fragmentation, weaker global demand, and subdued investment continue to weigh in our economic activities. Global inflation is projected to continue in a downward trajectory, driven by softer demand conditions, easing supply side pressure, and lower energy prices. For Nigeria, The global environment presents both risk and strategic opportunities. Effectively leveraging this opportunity will require deliberate, coordinated policy action. Strengthening institutions, robust private sector-led growth strategy to improve competitiveness, boost investment, and foster inclusiveness and sustainable economic growth.
As part of activities marking his second year in office, the governor of Kogi State, Osman Ododo, has unveiled an audit house. The project is aimed at strengthening fiscal discipline and improving public finance management across the state. The report.
The newly commissioned Kogi State Audit House comprises 2 wings designated for state and local government auditors, providing a central facility to enhance oversight of public funds. Governor Yahaya Bello said the facility will strengthen the capacity of auditors to carry out their duties effectively and improve public confidence in the state's financial operations.
The ongoing national reform in public finance management, institutional accountability, and economic restructuring have created an enabling environment for states to execute impactful projects that strengthen transparency and improve service delivery.
The Audit House was commissioned by former Delta State Governor James Ibori with a memorandum of understandings signed between the offices of the Auditor General of Kogi State and the Auditor General of the Federation to support capacity building over the next 4 years.
I see vision. I see purpose. So what I'm praying for is the wisdom to execute our vision, to achieve this purpose.
Stakeholders at the event said the purpose-built facility reflects a deliberate effort by the state government to ensure that public funds are managed in line with global best practices.
Our goal is not merely to transfer skill, but to build enduring institutional capacity, including training of in-house trainers that will position of the state audit office as a center of institutional excellence.
What you are seeing here today is beyond an ordinary building. It is God's own project. It is a dream come true.
The role of auditors in development process has been creative and dignified. You have not only given us a role, you have given us a voice.
This project was closely supervised by the Kogi State Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, in line with our mandate to ensure compliance with approved designs and value for money principles.
As the Audit House complex begins operations, residents say it adds to the growing list of governance reforms implemented by the Ododo administration within its first 2 years in office. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for BTV News.
The Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution has urged key stakeholders to move beyond diagnosing security challenges and begin implementing practical solutions to strengthen Nigeria's role as a stabilizing force in Africa. The report.
Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation and a leading contributor to regional peacekeeping and mediation efforts, has been at the forefront of initiatives under ECOWAS, the African Union, and the United Nations to address conflict and promote stability. Despite these efforts, the country continues to face security challenges, including insurgency, communal clashes, and transnational crime, which have implications for both regional and global security. A recent forum provided a platform for peacemakers, researchers, and practitioners to review current peace and security strategies. Participants discussed practical steps for translating policy recommendations into effective actions. The forum highlighted Nigeria's aspiration to consolidate its leadership role as a stabilizing force in Africa and a responsible actor in the international community. Strategies discussed aim to strengthen the country's contribution to regional peace and security.
When we say stability, stability doesn't mean that you don't have crisis or you don't have violence, but the capacity of the Nigerian state to manage what we've been managing. I think that is highly commendable, that is salutary. You can see the enormous investment in terms of the cooperation that we are having with our different partners, to make sure that we take off insurgency, banditry, and all that from our space. So
nobody should be above the law, right? If we all understand what we should be doing and do it according to the law, then nobody will feel cheated. The level of injustice will reduce, and people will now have a stake in the country, and they can give their lives happily for the country.
Participants expressed optimism that with coordinated action and strong political will, Nigeria can strengthen international stability and continue to play its leadership role as a pillar of peace and security in Africa and a responsible member of the global community. Temtakwe Oluwafemi reporting for Beetv News.
The Kaduna State government has flagged off the reconstruction and upgrading of internal roads at Ahmadu Bello University, Samaru. The project is expected to make daily movements around the campus safer and more convenient for students, lecturers, and visitors. The report.
Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation and a leading contributor to regional peacekeeping and mediation efforts, has been at the forefront of initiatives under ECOWAS, the African Union, and the United Nations to address conflict and promote stability. Despite these efforts, the country continues to face security challenges, including insurgency, communal clashes, and transnational crime, which have implications for both regional and global security. A recent forum provided a platform for peacemakers, researchers, and practitioners to review current peace and security strategies. Participants discussed practical steps for translating policy recommendations into.
The Forum of Former Deputy Governors of Nigeria has condoled with the Bayelsa State Governor family and the associates of Senator Lawrence Abujapo, who died on 11 December 2025. In a statement signed by the Forum's National Chairman, Chris Akomas, the group described Abujapo's death as a loss not only to the state but to the country at large. Until his passing, Senator Abujapo was an active associate member of the Forum, dedicated to public service and committed to the development and unity of Bayelsa State. The Forum urged the family to take solace in the impactful life and contributions of the former Deputy Governor. The chairman of SIBA African Group, Oji Uzo Kalu, and the chairman of China's GC Group, Zhong Gongshen, have signed a new energy industry framework cooperation agreement in Dubai. The deal covers energy system development, lithium resource exploitation, and full industrial chain collaboration, marking a significant step in China-Nigeria practical cooperation and GC's Group Belt and Road strategy. The partnership will benefit Nigeria by leveraging GC's 2 decades of experience in oil, gas, and green energy across Africa. It targets next-generation power systems, including gas, wind, solar, hydro, and grid upgrades, aligning with Nigeria's presidential power initiative to advance intelligent energy management. The agreement also promotes lithium development, with GC Group supporting local processing and constructing a lithium carbonate facility in Abia State, creating a complete lithium industry chain to drive Nigeria's energy transition and the global exports. And in business news, Nigeria aimed an estimated 55.5 trillion naira from crude oil sales in 2025, according to an analysis of production data from the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and crude price figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The revenue represents an increase from the 50.88 trillion naira recorded in 2024, supported largely by relatively strong oil prices during the year. The report.
Data from the NUPRC show that Nigeria produced 530.41 million barrels of crude oil between January and December 2025. Output fluctuated throughout the year due to operational disruptions and outages, despite gradual recovery in some producing fields. Monthly production peaked at 47.70 million barrels in January and fell to a low of 41.69 million barrels in September, before rebounding slightly in the final quarter. The revenue estimate was derived using using an average crude oil price of $72.8 per barrel and an exchange rate of 1,450 naira to the dollar. Although Nigeria's output remained low, its OPEC quota for most of the year, higher crude prices, particularly for Bonny-like early months, helped sustain earnings. Multitrex gets NGX nod to increase public shareholding. Multitrex Integrated Foods PLC has received approval from the Nigerian Exchange to take steps to increase its public shareholding after a recapitalization reduced its free float below main board requirements. The approval was granted by NGX Regulation Company according to a statement issued by the firm's company secretary, Songule Adekunle. The NGX granted Multitrex a 24-month moratorium ending 14th January 2020 to restore its free float to at least 20% of issued share capital or a market capitalization of 20 billion naira, whichever is lower. The extension allows the company additional time to comply with listing rules while pursuing strategies to broaden shareholder participation. The recapitalization followed a 7-year suspension of operations and involved capital injection by N Foods Universal Concept Limited to settle obligations owed to the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria. As a result, N Foods now holds 70% of the company's shares, leaving the public free float at 7.23% valued at 117.46 million naira, based on the 2024 audited accounts. NUPRC opens 50 oil blocks for bidding. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has opened 50 oil and gas blocks across 5 sedimentary basins for bidding in the 2025 licensing round, stating that only technically competent and financially capable firms will qualify. The Commission said the exercise aims to curb speculative participation and strengthen transparency in Nigeria's upstream sector. The chief executive of the NUPRC disclosed this during the pre-bid webinar for the licensing round, where the Commission outlined the bidding framework, evaluation criteria, and commercial terms. She described the exercise as a strategic effort to boost reserves, improve production, and enhance Nigeria's energy security. Eason said the Commission has adopted a strictly merit-based process with emphasis on technical expertise, financial strength, and credible development plans. She noted that successful bidders would be selected through a transparent process that covers the entire value chain, from block award to exploration, appraisal, and full production. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for BTV News.
And on the global scene, Bank of America and JP Morgan Chase announced on Wednesday that they will match the U.S. government one-time $1,000 contribution to the newly created Trump accounts for the eligible children of their U.S. employees, becoming among the first major financial institutions to back the Federal Savings Initiative, the report.
The Trump Accounts program, established under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, provides a $1,000 tax advantage seed contribution from the U.S. Treasury into investment accounts for children born in the United States between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028, as long as they have valid social security numbers. The funds are invested into low-cost stock market index funds and grow tax deferred until withdrawal, generally when the account holder turns 18. Under their pledges, both banks will provide a $1,000 employer match for each eligible employee's child who opens a Trump account. JP Morgan Chase Chief Executive Officer Jamie Dimon said the move reflects the bank's long-term commitment to the financial health and well-being of all our employees and their families, noting that the matching contribution makes it easier to start saving early and plan for the future. Bank of America made a similar commitment in an internal memo to staff. In addition to the match, Bank of America said it will allow employees to make pre-tax payroll deductions into their children's Trump accounts, helping workers contribute up to annual limits. Under IRS rules for the accounts, total annual contributions from families and employers are capped at $5,000 per child, with employer contributions generally limited to $2,500 per year. The Trump Account initiative is intended to promote long-term savings and investment habits from a young age, with supporters saying the combination of government seed money, employer matches, and family contributions could foster wealth accumulation over decades. Treasury officials estimate that if the initial deposit and subsequent contributions are left untouched and invested over the long term, the account could grow significantly by adulthood. The corporate backing from Bank of Africa and JP Morgan Chase follows similar commitments from other financial firms and employers, expanding benefits available to workers as part of employee financial wellness programs. Other companies and philanthropists have also pledged contributions to support wider participation in the program. The Trump accounts are scheduled to go live on July 4th, 2026, and eligible families can begin enrollment and contributions through IRS-designated forms and online portals once available. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for BTV News.
And on the entertainment world, American YouTuber and streamer Asher Speed is set to receive a Ghanaian passport following his visit to the country as part of his African tour. The 21-year-old content creator, whose real name is Darren Wans King Jr., visited Ghana as one of the finest stops on his tour titled Speed Does Africa, which ended on Tuesday after covering 20 African countries. Also, Dr. says, "I have only weeks left to leave," singer Ray J says. The report.
Ghana's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okezeto Mblaka, announced that approval has been granted for the issuance of the passport, describing the influencer as a positive ambassador for Ghana and Africa. The decision followed confirmation of Aisho Speed's Ghanaian heritage after he disclosed during a live stream that his mother is Ghanaian. Aisho Speed, who has over 50 million YouTube subscribers, received widespread attention during the tour for showcasing African cultures and cities. However, the passport decision has drawn mixed reactions in Ghana, with supporters praising the move as recognition of his impact, while critics question the implications of the value of Ghanaian citizenship. Man passes out of NYSC after 2 years and shares his story. A Nigerian man has shared his experience of completing the National Youth Service Corps NYSC program after a 2-year delay. Identified on X as Master Wave, he said he was first mobilized for the scheme on November 1st, 2023 and completed orientation camp later that month. His service was interrupted in February 2024 when he absconded to attend law school. After completing the program, he returned in November 2024 to resume NYSC, but was informed that regulations required him to restart the service year entirely. He was subsequently remobilized with approval granted in January 2025, allowing him to officially recommence the program. The man shared his story while reflecting on finally passing out of the compulsory national service. Doctors say I have only weeks left to live, singer Ray J. American singer and television personality Ray J has disclosed that his health has deteriorated significantly following a recent hospital stay. In a video shared online, the 44-year-old said doctors warned he may have only weeks to live, raising doubts about whether he will survive beyond the near future. He attributed his condition to years of heavy drinking and excessive partying, stating that doctors informed him his heart is functioning at about 25% capacity. Ray J said the condition has left him weak and constantly unwell, describing the situation as frightening and uncertain. The revelation follows a recent hospitalization in Las Vegas, where he was treated for severe pneumonia and heart-related complications. Ray J said he is considering alternative treatment options abroad, while thanking his parents and sister Brandy for their support as fans continue to express concern and encouragement online. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for BTV News.
Lastly, in sports news, Senegal head coach Beetv has been handed a 5-match ban and fined $100,000 by the Confederation of African Football following chaotic scenes during the 2025 African Cup of Nations final against Morocco. CAF said Twai was guilty of unsporting conduct and bringing the game into disrupt during the match played in Rabat with Senegal won 1-0. The final was disrupted in stoppage time when the Senegal players walked off the pitch after Morocco were awarded a penalty, overturning a goal scored moments earlier by Ismaila Sarr. Twai instructed his players to leave the field in protest of the referee's decision, leading to a delay of about 17 minutes before the team returned following intervention by Sadio Mane. Morocco's Brahim Diaz later missed the penalty, which was saved by goalkeeper Edouard Mendy. CAF also imposed additional sanctions banning Ilman Ndiaye and Sal for 2 matches each, while fining the Senegal Football Federation $615,000. Morocco players Ismail Sabari and Afraf Hakimi received 3-match and 2-match bans respectively. All sanctions apply only to CAF competitions and will not affect preparations for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And that's it in our news update. Thank you for joining us. To stay tuned with also more updates on our major news at 6. I am Beetv Johanna.